Did you miss out in visiting Enterprise Connect this week? Don't worry, I got you covered with all the MTR updates. Hello everyone and welcome to this week's episode of Mondays. In this week's episode, I will talk you through all the latest gossip that comes out of Enterprise Connect. If you've never been to Enterprise Connect, it is an amazing show that takes place in the States for anything pretty much technical, right? All the cool stuff for geeks like me that love AV and technical stuff and gadgets, etc. It's all happening down in Enterprise Connect. A lot of my colleagues in the Teams community are already out there, so I'm super jealous. Maybe one day I'll get a chance to head out there. However, instead of you having to scour through the internet and try and find all the latest and greatest from Enterprise Connect, luckily for you and me, Microsoft actually have something called a tech community blog page. I'm going to drop the link down below and show you where that is. In fact, let me head over to that page right now and show you the latest and greatest from Enterprise Connect. Let's head over there now. Welcome to the Microsoft Teams blog page. If you have never been to this page, you absolutely want to go ahead and bookmark it. So it's techcommunity.microsoft.com, and I'll drop that down below as well. This is literally like the homepage for me. I've set this as the homepage. So every time I boot up my PC, literally this is the first page that pops up. Why? Because all the latest gossip that comes out from the Microsoft camp, especially for Teams and phone and Teams rooms, all gets posted here onto this webpage. You'll notice right here in the middle, they've got a What's New in Microsoft Teams Enterprise Connect 2024. That is exactly the one that we are going to head to. Now, I'm not going to go through each and everything across here because this blog page covers a lot more than just Teams rooms. It talks about Teams, it talks about Copilot, etc. But I'm going to kind of call out some of the key features that really caught my eye. The first one is this voice isolation. Ilya Buchstein spoke about it during ISE. He's an avid user of it already, and he absolutely stands by it. He loves it. It's amazing. And guess what? It's going to be here pretty soon, if not already by the time this video comes out. When you switch on voice isolation, it will effectively use some clever algorithms in the background and understand your voice. And literally, even if there's somebody right next to you that's talking, it will only pick up and transmit your voice. And so it's really good. That's not a Teams Rooms feature per se. It's more of a Teams feature, but absolutely it helps in that wider meeting kind of world that we talk about. Okay, let's scroll through this a little more and let me pick up some of the other things. Here we go. So join meetings with a QR code on Teams Rooms, on Windows and Android. I think I had a question a couple of episodes ago asking about QR barcodes coming to Android. Yes, it is here. So now you can quickly join a meeting from Teams Rooms by scanning a QR code using your mobile device. Guys, if you are hearing screaming babies in the background, I do apologize. It's hell. It's half term, so everyone's at home and they're just going mental and fighting like crazy, as you can hear. That's why I need voice isolation, right? So as soon as it hits my tenant, I'm definitely using it. Anyway, going back to what we were talking about. Join meetings with QR code. So this one has been in the works for a little while, and a lot of customers really ask for it. We just want to walk into a room, scan a QR barcode, and then just jump straight into that meeting. That is going to be available in the first half of 2024. So not long now. So if it hasn't hit your tenant already, it should be hitting across pretty soon. Another big update, this one across here. This one is super exciting, actually. I'm going to hit the play button. Automatic camera switching for IntelliFrame. So I've done a couple of episodes already explaining what IntelliFrame is all about. IntelliFrame comes in two different forms. We've got Cloud IntelliFrame and then IntelliFrame that actually sits on a camera. So if you are lucky enough to have a intelligent cameras do a whole bunch of things, such as pulling out individual people from a video and framing them within their own window, but also more importantly, assigning identity as well. So we'll be able to recognize your face and say Mo was talking or Trevor was talking or whoever. And as part of that IntelliFrame story, Microsoft are really now starting to expand. I love this actually. HP Poly, which is the organization that I work for right now, are already starting to implement this onto their laptops, where effectively it will use the best face forward, which is what HP Poly call it. Effectively, what it will do is if you have your webcam in front of you, and let's imagine you're using multiple monitors and you look down, at a monitor, now you're just seeing the side of my face. But what the HP laptops will do with a piece of software is it will use the webcam on my laptop and actually switch the camera to the laptop So you still get the front of my face. And then if I turn back to the main screen, it'll switch back again. Up until today, that was only available on laptops, right? So definitely HP Poly do it. I don't think any of the other OEMs do it just yet. In PC OEMs, I'm talking about. But now that same technology is now starting to come as part of the IntelliFrame story, which is amazing. I'm going to go ahead and play this video one more time. And what you'll see is, yes, in a meeting room space, you've got a camera, which is at the front of the room and pointing into the room. But also it's going to take advantage of the Teams app that sits on your laptop while you're in that call, and take advantage of your web camera on that laptop as well. So if you look down to your laptop, instead of the front of room on the remote side seeing just the side of your face, it will switch cameras and it will switch onto your laptop camera and then switch back again into the room. So this is really cool. This is only going to be available with a Teams Rooms Pro license and be available later this year as well. We'll be grilling the Microsoft team to get some more better time frames as we get closer to launch. But well done, Microsoft team. This is really, really cool. I'm super excited to be seeing that coming to fruition pretty soon. Next one, multiple camera view selection. So as we know, with Teams Rooms, traditionally, it used to be just a single camera in the front of the room. And then I think it was last year at some point, Microsoft introduced a second camera. So you're able to plug in another camera, and then multiple cameras then came in. But normally from inside of the room, you'd have to be able to switch it. So using the touch console inside of the room, you would say, hey, I want to use the front of room camera. Now I want to use the back of room camera or the side camera, whatever it may be. Now you're going to have the ability to be able to, remote participants have the ability to be able to actually pick which camera they want to use. So if you're joining remotely and there's a room there with multiple cameras, you will now have the ability from your laptop to be able to select which camera it is that you want to use. So this is great during kind of those collaborative sessions. If somebody stands and goes to the front of the room, normally with a front-facing camera in the front of the room, you can't see that person if the whiteboard's at the front of the room. But if you've got a camera at the back, remotely, I'll be able to switch to that camera as well. So you always get the best view. So again, great job from Microsoft doing that. Another update, which I'm super excited about, is Ultrasound for proximity join. So up until now, if you wanted to use, companion join, like for example, if you've got your laptop, you've just walked into a room and then you want to use room controls or actually join into the room, if that room's not booked out, you would boot open Teams, you then select room, and then it will use a Bluetooth connection to effectively find a room that's nearby, and then you're able to use that in-room controls or in-room audio video capabilities. Microsoft's now moving to Ultrasound, and Ultrasound's amazing because one, we can't hear it, and two, it's got a bigger and more stable range than what Bluetooth does. One of the challenges that we had with Bluetooth back in the day is a lot of times Teams compute devices, so like the MTR on Windows, those compute devices would get locked away behind a cabinet. If it's a metal cabinet, for example, it would really degrade that Bluetooth beacon that's used to actually use this. But with Ultrasound now, it now becomes a lot more stable, a lot more easier for you to be able to find a nearby conference room and then just hit the join now button, and it will use the room equipment instead of dialing directly just from your laptop itself. So another thumbs up from me for Microsoft. That's great. I know it's been in the works for a while. I cannot wait for that to come later this year. I'm going to scroll through this. Definitely, guys, do check it out because there's a lot of good information here, especially about Copilot and what Microsoft's doing in the Teams realm and with webinars, etc., and also phone as well. But I'm going to scoot straight down and find Teams rooms and devices. Now, usually the way the blog is kind of written, especially with like the monthly updates that they push out, is that they'll have a Teams section, a phone section, a Teams devices section, etc., etc. So if you scroll down a little, you'll find that Teams rooms and devices section. So again, some really, really cool stuff. There is a new release of Teams rooms on Windows that will be made available in April. And as part of that release, there's a few updates that are now going to be coming along. So for example, the new Teams is now part of Teams rooms on Windows. For those of you that are using Teams on your desktop, you'll notice now that there is a Teams 2.0, if you want to call it that. Forgive me, Microsoft, if I've used the wrong terminology, but there is a new version of Teams, right? And a lot of us have already migrated over to Teams 2.0. Most others will have a toggle at the top that says try out the new Teams, and then you can toggle the switch. It's designed to save on resources. It's designed to launch up faster and provide a lot more capability. It's designed on a new it's built from the ground up effectively. So the old teams was old technology, and it was kind of hard to update, maintain, especially after COVID kicked in, and then all of a sudden capabilities expanded like crazy. Microsoft needed to rebuild the app from the ground up. One, to save on resources on laptops and stop the overheating and all the other stuff, but also to be able to bring features a lot more faster to the masses as well. So that's been launching out already for PC, for laptop. And now that same architecture is now moving across to Teams Rooms on Windows as well. So that new Teams is now going to be part on Teams Rooms on Windows, which means now you're not going to get any slowdowns on a MTR on Windows, etc., because it's going to be using 50% less memory. So a lot more resources, a lot more. Oh, apologies for that scream. She's coming closer and I can hear her screaming. So apologies for that. You're going to be able to utilize a lot more resources. So it's going to be a faster experience. And as Microsoft starts bringing out more and more great features, your MTR on Windows is going to have the capability to be able to run it. Another little one, change language on Teams Rooms and Windows. Traditionally, you would have had to go into the admin settings and then change the language that way and then reboot, etc. Now, you're able to actually select it from the settings screen. So it says here, administrators will be able to configure up to 3 languages. Chances are that will expand in the future, but for now, we've got the 3 languages. Another one here, meeting chat is now shown by default in the gallery view. I'm glad Microsoft picked this one up, because every time I was in a meeting room and gallery view was switched on, the first thing that I would do is click on, the view and then enable chat. And I used to do that every single time. So, I guess with all the insights that come from Microsoft Teams Rooms, the engineering team now have figured out that actually most people do turn on chat while in gallery view. So, hey, why not just make it by default? So amazing. By default, it's now switched on. Of course, for IT admins, you can easily, change that experience if you wanted to by using the IT backend, like the admin center. Another cool thing, UI improvements to join by meeting ID for Teams Rooms on Windows. If you have direct guest join enabled. So I've spoke about direct guest join in some earlier episodes, which is the ability to join into Zoom and Cisco WebEx, etc. If you wanted to join by ID, it didn't really look that nice. It was just like a traditional view. But now you have the ability that when you do hit that join a meeting with an ID button, it'll now pop up with this UI and it'll say, hey, do you want to join Teams or do you want to join Zoom? And then you can select whichever one it is and then enter whatever credentials, meeting passcode, etc. into that as well, instead of you having to use a drop-down menu, which is what was on it previously. So again, a better, richer UI experience that comes across there as well. Cool. Next one, moving across onto Android. Teams Rooms on Android 2.2 release. It is going to be a new version of Teams Rooms on Android, which is coming across around the April 2024 timeframe. I say around April. So Microsoft is launching the 2.2 release, but it may differ depending on the OEM that you have. So some OEMs will launch it straight away. Other OEMs will do their own testing and launch it very, very soon thereafter. So watch for that. That will be coming across. That also brings across the new home screen refresh on Teams Rooms on Android. I had a customer earlier today and they were talking about the differences between Android and Windows. And one of the things that came up was how different it looked if you were using Android or if you were using Windows. Now that's all going to change. So again, going by that promise that Ilya and team have been talking about, bringing feature parity. It's not just about feature parity, it's also about the UX experience to make it look and feel exactly the same. So again, they're doing the home screen refresh across here, where you get the buttons in the right places. You can now see like the free space that you have available in terms of your calendar, and then you can open the calendar and see a lot more detail on there as well. So again, I think really good. Good thumbs up from me. Because now we have that experience that looks really, really good across both Windows and Android as well. Another one, give feedback for Teams Rooms and Android. You'll be surprised how many people will just skip that feedback button. It's very useful actually, because whenever you hit the stars at the end of a call, for example, it goes back into Teams Admin Center or the Pro Portal, and even back to Microsoft to show which Teams Rooms are efficient, which ones are working, etc., etc. Microsoft's now going one step further. So with the give feedback button, you can see there's a couple of buttons just down here at the bottom. One says allow Microsoft to contact me, so you can attach your details there, and attach your logs to help troubleshoot. So again, instead of Microsoft and OEMs having to chase customers or partners to say, hey, did you grab those logs? Now you can actually attach the logs directly straight after a call, which makes our life and Microsoft's life a lot more easier. Also, another big thing for me as well is in recent years, there used to be something called user voice, where if you had any ideas, you'd be able to kind of say, hey, Microsoft, here's a cool idea for Teams Rooms. You were able to upvote on it, etc. And then it go back to engineering, and then they would then prioritize, what they would bring into the next release. Unfortunately, that web page was depreciated, but it's really good to see that actually now they're bringing that directly onto an MTR machine. So if you have any feedback or ideas, you can actually just put it straight into the give feedback to Microsoft button and then hit that send, and it will go to Microsoft. It will go to the IT administrators, and then Ilya and team at Microsoft can get cracking on those things to bring those things that we love the most onto the platforms. A couple more before I end up. Content sharing and admin controls for Teams Rooms on Android. So enhanced content sharing capabilities with PC audio shared via HDMI. Good point. We need the audio. An IT admin controls on automatic sharing of HDMI content. So users can view and add annotations to shared content when a desktop user starts a session. That's great, because if somebody at home decides to share their screen and we've got a touch screen on Android in a meeting room space, I can actually now annotate on that for the benefit of people inside of that room as well. For those users that are Teams premium users as well, there's also support now for the watermark enabled meetings. Whenever anyone does NDA sessions, everyone always says, please don't take pictures. And the amount of times people actually take pictures is crazy. But now what you can do is add those watermarks, which will put like an email address on top. So if somebody does decide to take a picture, you can trace it back and you can figure out by that watermark who it was. It could be a serial number, it could be an email address, whatever you want. It's a good way for you for privacy and to ensure NDAs are kind of kept in place as well. Next one, security and privacy. IT admins so require meeting ID and passcode. This one was an ask for quite a while. So people wanted to, or customers wanted to lock down Teams Rooms. You didn't want if there was a sensitive meeting that's been sent to a meeting room, there was no way for you to actually secure it. So anyone could walk into that meeting room and just press join and then join into a meeting, whether they were invited or not. Now we have the ability to require meeting ID and passcode. So that's coming on users that are using a Teams Rooms Pro license, and it's coming around April. I don't know if anyone's using basic. Hopefully you're not. Everyone should be on Pro. Pro gives you everything that you need. So as long as you got the Pro license around the April timeframe, it will now say, hey, you need to enter a passcode, which will be on one's Outlook calendar invites as an example. Cool. I'm just looking at time. 70 minutes, man. This is a long one, but I do definitely need to talk about this. Low friction deployment, automatic device updates via Teams Rooms Pro management. This is one of the ones that I really like, especially for those of us that are deploying and installing Teams Rooms devices. One of the biggest complaints we get is how long it takes to update devices. As soon as you've installed them, it can take hours for you to do. A lot of times, distribution partners or people will try and update things before they send it on site. It can take time. Now what will happen is, as long as you are using Teams Rooms Pro license, during the initial setup of a device, and once you've set up the device, Teams Rooms on Windows, the application will automatically check and install the new application and any Windows updates that are applicable for that machine. No need for you to have to now go back into admin and then update the Windows Store and then update the app and then update Windows updates. It was a laborious process, and if you did it wrong, there was a risk of breaking devices. This time around, as soon as you've gone through that setup process, just like Windows on your PC, like a normal consumer Windows, it will now check for updates and it will push those updates down. So it's going to save a ton of time during those deployments. Going back to that feedback piece that I was talking about earlier on. This is a good one as well. User-reported events will now show up in Teams Rooms Pro Management. With Teams Rooms Pro Management, it was always kind of that AI-driven capability where it would detect it, it would flag it, it would raise a ticket. But if somebody in a room actually raised a concern by using that feedback button, it wouldn't show up in Teams Rooms Pro portal. Now it will. So user-reported events will now show up in there as well. So again, from an IT administrative capability, you can now see what users have reported and then assign a ticket to Microsoft or the OEM as required. So that's really, really cool. I'm not going to talk about the BYOD piece. I will save that for another episode. But there are a couple more and then I'm going to end. I promise I'm going to end. For those of you that are deploying Teams Rooms and Android, you may have heard of something called MDEP, which is Microsoft Device Ecosystem Platform. So a lot of OEMs are now starting to take advantage of it. That is coming across, and you'll start seeing a lot of OEMs now take advantage of the MDEP platform for you to be able to enroll your devices better onto your network. And maybe we'll do a session on that one soon. Last but not least, Teams panels, multi-panel check-in. If you have one of those really large rooms and you've got multiple kind of Teams room panels on the outside of the room, now they're going to sync with each other. So if you've checked into one and you've not checked into the other, somebody can accidentally check you back out again. Now, if you check in one, it will synchronize across the whole, all the panels that are connected as part of that room as well. So again, some really good updates. This is probably the longest episode I've done at 20 minutes. So I am going to end this episode. I am going to say, Enterprise Connect has given us some really, really cool updates. I'm super excited to start diving into them as we get closer to launch and release on these. If you haven't checked out the techcommunity.microsoft.com page, make sure you do check that out because it's got some really, really cool information in there. I'm going to go because the kids have gone quiet. They're up to something, I can tell. So I'm going to shoot off in a second, but I do want to say, hey, there might be a couple of weeks delay on the next Mo Mondays. It's the Easter bank holiday weekend. It's the end of Ramadan, so I'm taking some time off work as well. But I promise I will bring another episode of Mo Mondays very, very soon. But as always, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment down below. And no doubt I shall see you on the next one. Ciao.